Hello and welcome back to another edition of Coach B Weekly for RMUcolonials.com. I'm Ken Baker and joined as always by Associate Head Coach and Head Coach in Waiting, Charlie Buscaglia, or as he is affectionately called by staff and his team, Coach B. Coach B, 2 games on the road last week. You're at Fairleigh Dickinson and at Sacred Heart, 2 teams that have been playing well. You guys came away with a couple of losses, and it seemed that both games kind of followed the same script. You guys followed your game plan for 3 quarters, in the case of Sacred Heart, 3.5 quarters, but things got away from you at the end of both of those games.
Yeah, you know, we came close, and we didn't finish the job, and that's something that we got to learn from and know that when we get to this time of year, you've got to be finishing the job, and you've got to go out to a game not only with energy to start the game, or energy to come out after the halftime, but also in the last 4 minutes, you know. And obviously with Fairleigh Dickinson, we grew a pretty strong lead. You know, we were in the 13-15 area.
12 points going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 12 going into the fourth, and then just really dropped our level of intensity, our level of grit, and you know, we didn't get stops and we didn't put the ball in the basket. You know, obviously at Sacred Heart, you know, it was more of a nip and tuck game all the way through. I think we were tied at the half, and in the fourth quarter we were up late on inside 5 minutes.
Yeah, 3-point lead with 4 to go on that one.
Yeah, so, you know, in that type of situation, you're against a team that at that time was first in the league and doing really well, and you had a chance to knock them off on their floor. I thought the game plan was strong. I thought the effort was there. We just didn't close it out at the end, and we've got to learn from this now and realize that, you know, this final stretch here, got to get that in order, because the teams that are going to wind up getting to where they want to be are the teams that are going to close teams out.
And you talk about that learning process. You know, as a coach, there's always some type of experience you want to take out of every game, whether it's played well or not played well, that your team can learn from. But you're starting to run out of time. What do you learn from this experience on the road and going ahead? You have 4 games left on your schedule. What do you take going forward into the rest of that regular season schedule?
Well, from a coach's standpoint, you really get an idea of, you know, who's right now in the frame of mind to close out a game and who's not, and then you have to make adjustments accordingly. At this point in the season, your team is who your team is. You know, you're not going to change the culture of your team. You're not going to change the accountability, the standard. At this point, what you've built up to this point has to show, and you have to get the most out of it, because drastic changes are not going to happen. You know, you're the team that you've become, and you know, all the work in the preseason and in, you know, before we play our first game, when we get to full-time practice, and then once we get into the grind and get into conference, and all that now is built up into this right here. So the body of work that we've done is going to show down the stretch, and we've just got to be very positive in the process that we've gone through. And there's going to be tough days and there's going to be good days. And you know, down the stretch here, there's no softness at all about this. You're going to have injuries, you're going to have you know, illnesses, and you're going to have moments where things are going bad, and you've got to be able to overcome it at this point. And the teams that are able to do that are going to be the ones that are going to, you know, rise at the end. So we have to focus on being that team and continuing to do a good job of setting the standard that we have built upon all season.
And you talk about coming to the end, and one of the traditions of college sports in general, and especially women's basketball, is Senior Day. And you guys have Senior Day coming up on Saturday. We'll celebrate before the game against St. Francis Brooklyn. Let's talk about your senior class. You have 4 this year, and we're going to start with Leah Warmack, who's a 5th-year transfer, one of the first that you guys have had, at least since I've been here that I can remember, out of UNC Asheville. And just talk about Leah and what she's done for you guys, being a 1-year player for the Colonials.
Well, Leah's an interesting story, you know, because Leah was very interested in coming here out of high school. And we didn't come together when she had graduated. She went and signed at another school at UNC Asheville, and she went there and did really well as a freshman, and then had a very injury-plagued career. I always, you know, kept an eye on her, and I always liked her. I always thought she was a great kid and you know, hard worker. And you know, I remember her father was very active in the recruiting process, and so I remembered her very, very well. And when it came around that time where roster spot was open for us to sign somebody late last year, you know, her name came across as somebody that we knew were, players that had a year left of eligibility but had received their undergraduate degree. So, we called up her coach, UNC Asheville, and our coach was very nice and was very appreciative of the way we handled it, and calling up and talking to her and making sure that this was a kid they weren't bringing back. And that's just really how that process goes with the 5th year, which, like you said, is something that we haven't done. And she was very excited about, going another year, even though she had a lot of injuries throughout her 4 years at UNC Asheville. And, just knowing that she still wanted to play, even though she was a 4.0 student and she was going to go on and get a medical degree. And it was amazing that she still wanted to go out there and play. And I think what she was missing was what we are involved in now, an opportunity to, to go and to have a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. And I think that's what she's been, really in her heart striving to have. And, we've had some great moments already this year with her, and she's played a very nice role for someone that hasn't been with us and has come in and kind of done a great job of being a great leader and doing a great job of being positive and working through her injuries. If anybody here has gotten tougher and worked through their injuries, it's because of Leah Warmack's standard that she set, because of how much she's been through and how much she goes through every game to get through it and to get through practice and get out there. So, we're very happy that she's here, and she's had a good year so far, and, I'm hoping these last games down the stretch are a great finale for her, because she's had a very, very tough, hard-nosed, and she set a great standard type of career.
Right. You talk about injuries and how they affected Leah Warmack's career. Another one of your seniors, Lou Madeley. Mm-hmm. Lou was an all-rookie team selection her freshman year. Had a couple knee injuries, an ankle injury, and Lou was back and finally healthy for you guys again here in 2015-16. And let's just talk about Lou Madeley and the player that she's been over the last 4 years.
Well, Lou, like you said, came out and had a great freshman year, even though it got cut short. She had such a good freshman year that even though she missed half of the conference, she still made all-rookie team. And when she went away, she was one of the top selections for all-freshman team. And she was actually battling out one of our players, Ashley Ravelli, who in turn won all-freshman. But it was a great battle going on, and it was great to have both of them on your team. So, back when Lou was a freshman, we were really excited, even though we were having a tough year that year, being so young and those players have to play such a big role. We were excited about the future because of how well she had played. When she went down with her knee injury, you just don't know sometimes how a kid is going to be able to come back. And, it was tough for Lou, and it was tough for her to get through the surgery, and surgery was a massive ACL tear. So she had to really rehab and get back, and she had to prove it to everyone, including herself, that she was tough enough to do that, and she did. And as she started to get into the flow of things again, right around, I would say it was close to almost identically the same time of year, she tears the ACL.
It was the same opponent, Mount St. Mary's,
Same
both
opponent,
times.
this time on the road. And, I remember when she went down, I was really nervous about that's what it was, because, you see how players go down with that and how their initial reaction is, how they grab their leg and where they grab their leg, and I'm very perceptive of those things, and I was very concerned that it was that way, and it was. And I just remember that day of her going down, saying, she was tough enough to come back from this once, but this is going to take a very special person, a special student athlete, to do this again. Don't forget student athlete. I mean, going to class still and dealing with this, dealing with the fact that she's got to go to rehab and dealing with this. This was something she had to go through all over again, just when she started to really get back into things too. That was one of her better games when she went down, and then she proved it to everybody again that she could come back from another ACL. And that to me was one of the proudest moments I had as a coach, is that I brought in a player that is not only willing to be tough enough to come back after one, but then to come back after a second one, and then have the attitude she had going forward. Everything that she gets this season, I'm very happy for her about, because there's certain players that want things handed to them in life, and then there's players that really have to earn it, and she's really had to earn it. So I'm hoping for a nice finish for her, because if anyone can model herself of toughness and coming back from adversity, Lou Madeley should be a name that rings a bell right away.
Right, and hard work. You talked about it with Lou recovering from her injuries. You got to talk about the worker that Randy Jackson is, both on and off the court. I think off the floor is as good of a person as you're going to run into, and on the floor she certainly is able to help you in the backup point guard role. Mm-hmm. And Randy Jackson, her freshman year, she did some work with the Cancer Society, doing some work again her senior year with Make-A-Wish, and just a fantastic person, Randy Jackson.
Yeah, Randy was a kid that we recruited out of California, and she came from a long way to come here. And she played on a very, very tough high school basketball team. I mean, they had players going to, Cal and Stanford, and they were very strong, and they were nationally ranked in the top 3, I think, for her junior and senior year. So she had come from being around Division I, high Division I players, and I knew that she would be able to go into a program, with a Division I program, and be able to come in right away and not understand what it was like to play at a high level, or have to challenge herself to play at a high level, because she had. And she's been a model citizen when it comes to, like you said, doing things off the court like she has, and that sets a great standard. Those kind of players set a great standard in the locker room. They set a great standard when they leave the arena and they go off and handle other things, because you can't just always focus in on winning. Winning is what we strive to do, and when you win, you want to win the right way. You want to win with players that you could look back on and say they really cared about their team, they cared about how they represented the university, and President Howard, our new president that just took over in the beginning of this month, he just had come up to me at their last men's game when we were there supporting the men, and he had said to me, I just got a chance to spend some time with one of your players, Randy Jackson. What a great girl! Had some great conversation. I really like her. And the president of the university already knows who Randy Jackson is and is already complimenting her. So that as a coach, that makes you feel good, saying, hey, one of my players is meeting with the president already, and she's representing the team very, very well, and he's very appreciative of the kind of player we're bringing in. And Randy on the court this year has done a great job of working hard every day. I had complimented her in front of the team about a month ago on the road when we were playing at Central and we lost a tough game, and I said, Randy, I said, you're doing a great job of coming to practice every day and working hard. And Randy has a tough role sometimes because she may not see the court a lot in the middle of the game, but she comes in a lot at the end of the game, and not in the end of the game where the game is lopsided, when the end of the game is close, because she's a strong defender, and she's somebody that can really get after it. She's very strong physically with her hands and with her being able to rip the ball away from people. So if I got to put somebody at the end of the game to get a big stop, Randy Jackson's somebody we definitely look to put on the floor. And she's been able to handle that role too, and she's done a great job from not even being out there and then going into a game in a big spot and having to pick herself right up. So she's doing well for us, and I'm proud of her after 4 years of all the things she's accomplished.
Yeah, and seems to me the kind of person that no matter what role you throw at her, she accepts it. And she goes on and does the best that she can with that role. Somebody who had to switch roles is our final senior, Ashley Ravelli. She came in as a freshman, rookie of the year, was a 2-guard for you, did a fantastic job out there without having to handle a whole lot of pressure. But you guys had some injuries her sophomore season, and she got thrown into a point guard role and has really grown into that, learned that role in a position that she wasn't necessarily comfortable with. And just surpassed 1,000 points, a fiery leader for you out there on the floor. And, I think it's a career that you look back and you just see how she changed from her freshman year to her senior year.
Well, she's changed a lot. She's changed a lot, and even this year, we still worked with her on getting to that next level of where, I know she wants to be. And that's the one thing about Ashley is that she'll have moments where she gets down and she gets into a slump, and then you got to get her back out of it. And what we're working on is having her get herself out of it and understand how to, and when she's feeling a certain way, how to do it on her own. Because she's going to be graduating after this year, and you want to hope to see these players go off and feel confident that, hey, they're not going to have me there alongside of them, and they'll start to understand how to do this themselves. And Ashley hit a rough patch this year for a stretch of games where she wasn't doing nearly as well as she wanted to, and she's responded well after that. She was out of the starting lineup for a couple of games. That was a big adjustment for her because, like you said, she'd been thrown into a big role from her freshman year all the way forward, changed positions, done a lot of things that we were very proud of her of. So in her senior year, being taken out of the starting lineup and then having to come off the bench was a big adjustment for her. And at first, I don't think it felt really well. But now, she's showing the response. And that's the big thing about, when you get a player in front of you and you have to go over things that they don't necessarily want to hear, they need to hear, but they don't want to hear, and things that they want to change, but they haven't really made the decision to go and change it. it's tough sometimes, and it's tough for them to move forward in a positive way. And she has responded extremely well since that initial, change-up of the lineup. And now she's back into the starting role as a point guard again. In the last few games, she's played well, and she's played with that fire. And that's the thing about Ashley, is we've always worked with her about being steady. Steadiness. Not steady where she brings her level of intensity down below standard and just stays steady down there where she's just, out there in a coma. It's like where she's up here and she's staying steady at a high level where nothing's going to knock her way down, and she's going to continually be a leader no matter how bad a game she's having shooting the ball or how many mistakes she's made. She's worried about the team. And no matter what, in the end, I feel confident at this point that she's turned that corner, and that no matter how we finish, she's going to be a good leader, and she is going to go out there and have that positive steadiness that's above the bar.
Yeah, and she certainly showed it. Against Sacred Heart, had a season-high 18 points, 4 or 5 from three-point range, and probably her best game as a senior at Sacred Heart. Moving on away from the senior class, you guys do have a couple games coming up this weekend, and we're going to start off with St. Francis Brooklyn. Head coach John Thurston, they're playing better, and they always seem to do this under Coach Thurston.
Remember I said that.
The end of the year, they get it, and he does a great job of molding a team around the talent that he has. And what are you guys looking to face here in this Terriers team that you take on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago when we did the show, I was just saying to you that I remember saying that to you, was saying that they only had one win in the conference. They were like 1-10 at the time, and I said, do not be surprised if they make another run late, because he sticks into what he believes. He's a great teacher of the game. I have a lot of respect for Coach Thurston and what he does and how much he gets out of his team. And last year when they took us down on our court in the finals, I can never say that that I felt bad that he won it. I felt good for him. I wanted us to win it, and believe me, after it was over, it was tough to walk off your own court with a loss. But I felt good for him because of what he does with his team and how he represents women's basketball, teaching fundamentals and stuff like that. So that's why we always battle so well, is because we have a lot of respect for them, they have a lot of respect for us, and when we go into that game, we kind of similar qualities in the way we build our program. He's tough, and when we go into this game at home, we've already had a taste that they can come in here and they can knock you off. They did it in a big spotlight last year for all the marbles. So we have to make sure that we learn from that last year, learn from the mistakes we made in that game, things that we might have taken for granted. And you have to get after it out there. They're playing much better. Their offense is really flowing right now. They just knocked off Bryant, something that nobody else has been able to do. That's a tough feat to overlook. And we're going to have to majorly step up our defense and really understand that they're not going to come in here scared at all. We had a close game with them at third place. We had hit some shots late to win. And it's going to be a tough game here at home again. So I'm expecting them to be a tough opponent, and much respect to them. It's going to be a battle.
And you guys will finish off that Brooklyn swing on Monday against LIU Brooklyn, Blackbirds team that not playing their best basketball, not having one of their best years, but is always a tough team to play.
Well, in that situation there, coach just taking over a team that, it's changing the culture of what she wants now and what she's looking for. And Coach Stigler did a nice job. I always had a lot of respect for her, and it's no knock on either coach. I mean, you're coming into a program and you're going to get your system in place, and sometimes you get off to a nice start because things are fresh, and then you hit a bad patch, and then you got to battle back. And sometimes you get off to a slow start and then you get it going late. That's just the way it is when you turn over a team. And I remember when we first came here to Robert Morris, we had a lot of things that we wanted to change, and there were some things that we did also like, but we had a ton of things to change. Not because it was the wrong way, it was because it wasn't our way. And that's what a coach has to have. They have to have a way that they do things, and then you build on that. Well, that's what she's obviously doing at this point in her career. And there's going to be ups and downs with that, and she's going to get things in order, but I wouldn't take them for granted at all. We had a very tough battle at third place earlier in the year. They did a great job of making us uncomfortable on offense and doing some things to us defensively that made us really spend a lot of time in the film room. So no, it's going to be a tough week. It's a weekend, Saturday, Monday. It's going to be tough. I mean, both of these teams are are teams that definitely can come in here and knock us off, and we're going to have to take it very seriously to understand, not just for, you know, the fact that we're going into playoff time now, but just for the fact of, say Francis in New York, the team we're focused on right now, that team is playing really well, and we're coming off of 2 losses. So this should be an interesting matchup. I'm really looking forward to seeing how my team responds after that last week, and you know, goes out there and really gives it our best shot.
Yeah, thank you, Coach B. And the Colonials have clinched a spot in the NEC playoffs, but they're still battling for home court advantage, an advantage that has played very well for Robert Morris over the last 12 years. Again, Saturday, St. Francis, Brooklyn. That game scheduled to start at 1 p.m. with Senior Day taking place beforehand. And then Monday night, they will take on the LIU Brooklyn Blackbirds right here at the Soul Center. For RMUColonials.com and Coach B, this has been another edition of Coach B Weekly.